Hello, Yakri here with another Dominions 5 video. This time I'm going to be covering expansion as Middle Age Relay and as Water Nations in general, or rather, this is going to be sort of a example of expanding as a Water Nation. I don't think there's enough different about getting started with a Water Nation to really warrant any sort of in-depth discussion about it. But I'm going to talk about Relay because I had a request to do this nation in particular, and the middle age of Relay is kind of crap. And late age has its own unique problems that I'm not going to get into because it requires its own special guide. Early age is actually fairly decent, but not super strong at initial expansion. So let's talk about the most difficult time you're going to have, which is the Middle Era. This is the pretender that I would recommend using for Middle Era Relay. Now, let's see, what are the key points to this? Basically, why the Earth Serpent? Well, the problem is that the Kraken has astral magic, and you can't afford to put its astral magic too high, which is going to make it a fairly easy target for players later on. It's also actually deceptively shitty at expanding. It has low protection, and it's just going to get torn apart by certain indies really unexpectedly. Unless you invest more points in it than you want to, so you're not going to have the scales that you really need for this nation. As for the other options, most of these are right out. You can expand with the Dagon maybe, but it's way too expensive. Instead of 290 points, this thing should be I guess I can use equipment. I don't know, 190 points. It's not very good. All these guys, it's not, you don't really have any use for any of these guys. This guy, Uttervast, is actually hilarious. It's pretty much unstoppable. However, it only has Astral, and which you already have plenty of, and it can pick up Afflictions, really unfortunately. So it's still gonna sort of go out of style, as it were. And oh, what's it? Oh yeah, that's right. It's 340 fucking points. That's 100 more than the Earth Serpent. Now, although it has a lot of great traits that supposedly justify this cost, in terms of actually getting you started and expanding and stuff, it's not any better than the Earth Serpent. So really, what's the point? It still has some. It's actually more fragile because the Earth Serpent has recuperation, which is great. It's immobile pretenders. There's no reason to pick these guys really. The Worm is potentially a viable option. I don't really like it quite as much as the Earth Serpent because it doesn't have recuperation. However, you could totally do the exact same thing I'm doing here with the Worm. You just give it 4 Earth and then 2 to 4 Water. Let's see. Sea Dragon would also work. Sea Dragon is great, except it only has water paths and it's aquatic. Aquatic is bad. The Ancient Kraken almost justifies it because it has 2 shield slots, 2 sword slots, which is pretty nice, as well as 2 ring slots. So the slot wise, this is actually pretty cool, and gives you some flexibility to do stuff later. It still has recuperation. It's just that it's gonna get blown up in the early expansion. Floating Mind is nothing really. It's squishy. It's interesting, certainly, an innate spellcaster that's not immobile, and it's cheap. I haven't found a use for it, but it's definitely got some neat stuff to it, and just not that I can make use of, not with Relay. You can't expand with the Ghost King or the Master Lich realistically, and of course not with the Mage Pretenders, and you're pretty much just left with the Earth Serpent or the Worm, and I favor the Earth Serpent. So Earth Serpent gives us Reinvigoration X3, which will be nice for our spellcasters. It's nice for the Earth Serpent itself. We're going to go heat scales because we're underwater nation. It doesn't really matter whether we go hot or cold scales. We definitely want to go 3 because we're not fully affected by our negative scales here because we're in the water. And the Earth Serpent is cold-blooded, so it's going to like the little bit of heat scales. Let's see, for Drain isn't too big of a deal. You've got some bigger mages. Misfortune, alright, sure, that is unfortunate. I like luck scales, but we really need income, and we need production, really badly because we don't have access to a lot of resources, and we have troops that suck up way too many resources. So, with that said, let's just create our Pretender and get into the game. Oh, right, I was in the tool screen. Alright, let's use this as a nice example map. Hammer out at some bullshit name. Middle Age. Honestly, I probably went into too much depth in that. I always do this. I go all in, all the way. Alright. but we're almost done. We're almost done. So let me just show you like a couple turns of expansion to give you an idea here. So Earth Serpent, well, it's pretty brainless. You just attack the closest thing. Now with this particular bless, I would say you don't even need. This isn't bless dependent, right? This is going to be good. This is going to be fine expanding almost anywhere with or without the reinvigoration. It doesn't actually need that. So as such, you don't have to worry. That's what I'm looking for here. You don't have to worry about expanding into your own dominion. It's nice if you can do that, but you don't have to worry about doing that. The other thing is it's going to be nice for getting you onto the land as well, which you're going to want to do. All right, so I made a mistake. I already made a terrible mistake. Okay, so I should have recruited some units. Like a good example might be actually the Lobo Guard. I don't know how many this guy can actually lead. He can lead like 20 more, but these guys are like really cheap, and you could recruit 20 in a turn. And they're terrible, 13 hit points, and they have an attack, and that's not that bad, right? So let's pretend this is really the turn 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. Okay, I got 20 of these guys. And what else do I need to go with this? Probably, oh man, all these magic beings, terrible. Probably some slave guardians, actually, yeah. All right, there we go. So this is what I would probably want to recruit. Oh wait, no, that's foolish. What am I saying? I'm crazy. All right, these guys are beautiful. Slave troopers. Oh, we're just gonna recruit a fuckload of these. I don't think I can recruit more than this. I think I'd be out of gold about now, normally, right? Yeah. So this is about how many of these we can recruit. Let's go to the next turn. All right, so we get all these guys, and let's see. Yeah, we can just put them in here with these dudes. Put these in here, and you can't even lead. You can't even lead them all. But we're gonna fire closest enemies, and the net guys are great because the nets give enemies a lot of penalties in combat. Just kind of a really handy thing to have. Versus a wide variety of troops. They're deceptively good because they've just got the shitty spear, they've got terrible stats, but the web effect of the net penalizes enemy unit combat stats, and then they just beat the crap out of them. It's great. It's really great. So we're gonna go expand over here with these guys. This guy, our pretender, is gonna go to this kind of easy square right here. Shamblers are not that spooky unless you had like a crap load of them. What you want to look out for is Amber Clan and Shark Tribe. Those are going to be really dangerous. Now, for continued recruitment, let's see. This is actually pretty fine, except we want to... Let's see, what do we want for our commander here? We want a commander with Taskmaster. This guy is probably fine. 40 magic leadership, so if we recruit one of him, and then it's going to take like 2 turns for us to get all the units we want. He doesn't have enough. You're kind of screwed no matter what you choose here, honestly, because they don't have enough leadership at all. Like this mixture of leadership and magic leadership where you don't have a lot of either is kind of crappy. It almost makes me want to take a bless that like improves. It wouldn't make him any better though, because he's not sacred. Jesus, it's terrible. Could throw in some Illithids. These guys are very expensive. They're probably not very good for their cost, but in a way they're good in the sense that they don't cost like any resources at all. And they're very good troops, at least, since they paralyze people. So I probably like just blow the rest of my money like this. There we go. All right, I think you're limited to 5 per month, if I remember correctly. All right, so we're gonna go. We're pretending this is our real first turn of expansion, and he kills the Shamblers, no problem. Unfortunately, this guy is much weaker, but we still managed. What? Does it not show the? Oh, I guess that must be why it's just not showing these guys because it's the slave trooper squad, I guess. All right, so we captured this, and now we're gonna go on to capture here, and we're gonna go over here with our Earth Serpent, no problem. Now let's see, we're gonna wait one more turn of these guys, and then we should have enough troops to send out another expansion force that might actually succeed, and we're going to recruit a mage to do a little bit of research for us while we're at it. Okay, sounds good. I already queued up research. That's right, alteration, conjuration. Hard to go wrong with those. I'm not sure. You actually probably want to go more thaumaturgy for relay. but I'm not going to get into too much of magic. What kind of magic is good for them? It's basically just stuff that you want for Astral, and Thaumaturgy has a lot of good Astral stuff like Mind Burn and Soul Slay. So you're probably going to want to be going for that. And let's see, let's attack. We want to take a land province now, I think. Griffin Riders, that doesn't sound like fun. Woodsman Blowpipes, sure. They're like moderately dangerous, but probably not for the Earth Serpent, especially because we have... No, we don't have... Yeah, he'll probably be fine. Okay. These guys... Oh, okay, all our troops can go onto here. No, they'll get wrecked by that. Jeez, crap, that sucks. Alright, we're gonna go over here. Earth Serpent's going onto the land, and oh, this guy is now ready to go have a fight. It's Fight Club time. Oh. These are magic beings. Oh, I see. Well, let's take this. There we go. Attack closest enemies. Put them out in front. These guys will fire closest enemies. See, that's to make sure that they throw the nets when you want them to. And these guys will just fire, yeah, closest enemies. You don't always, 100% of the time, want your archers to attack closest, but since these guys paralyze people, you definitely want them to attack closest. Did I actually... Also, I don't know if I gave this guy any commands. I didn't. It didn't really affect me, but you want to make him cast spells, and he'll just start smiting people if you do that with your Prophet. And I'm still recruiting mages. That's fine. Next turn, I have to recruit a commander, right? And so, we're done. Okay. This expansion force worked out well. This expansion force worked out well. That expansion force worked out well. This guy moved over here. And now I'll just attack onto land versus some weak units. And this is pretty much your whole route as Relay. You're gonna want to start taking the land. You want to make like a fortress. You want to like just build a fort somewhere on the land to get a foothold established. Your Earth Serpent will be a big help with that. Helps you with your magic pathing as well, because their Earth is not really a relay thing normally, or at all, even a little bit of a relay thing. And expansion should be pretty easy at this point. Like once you get started and you have these good scales that Earth Serpent lets you take, it's going to be pretty easy. If you find it isn't that easy for you, you can always take Productivity 3 instead of only Productivity 2, and then you could expand with Slave Guardians instead. Meteorite Guards always cost too much resources to be useful to use early on. Maybe about this point I might consider recruiting them, or maybe after I've taken like that province and that province over there to get more resources coming into my capital. I would consider picking them up. Their weapons are very nice. They're still kind of, they're not really high quality infantry, but they do have good armor, and they do have good weapons and magic weapons to boot, which is useful versus a variety of things that are weak to magic weapons. And that's about it. If you pick the Earth Serpent, you should have a pretty easy time expanding. If you like for whatever reason really don't want to pick the Earth Serpent, instead pick whatever you want. Just make sure you have at least Productivity 2. And that's actually pretty much about it. At least Productivity 2. If you're not picking the Earth Serpent, I would recommend Productivity 3. And it's probably a good idea to have Prod 3, Growth 3, Order 3. All three of those at 3. If you're not taking an Awake Expander like the Earth Serpent. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. There's probably some other oddball expander options you could do, but the problem I have with them is they all require you to tank your scales more than this. And this is not like great scales as is, right? You're already like sacrificing a little bit to have this Awake Expander, right? Like I don't want this drain. I would like to have 3 prod. And I'm taking the penalty in order to expand faster. Like the fact that I don't have 3 prod is mitigated by the fact that I can expand really fast by having an extra expansion force essentially with the Earth Serpent early on, which allows me to more quickly negate that penalty in my capital to allow me to build more expansion forces. And it's gonna... Well, I mean, after that it doesn't help as much, but you know, it helps you right at the beginning of the game, gives you a little extra burst, and that's one thing where not having productivity really caps you out. Like later on, once you've captured a bunch of provinces that link up to your fort, not having productivity is not a big deal unless you have a very large penalty, like -2 sloth, right? But having 3 productivity for almost everyone is not going to be particularly useful later on in the game. because you're going to have more than enough resources for almost anything. There are a few exceptions, but it's fairly rare. However, not having it near the beginning of the game and going forward quite a bit matters a lot. And of course, also, if you build a fort in some location that's just kind of crappy for getting resources and you really need to build an army there, well, then it's nice to have 3 productivity, of course. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that this helps you expand as early relay or middle relay. As the other ages, they don't change very much from this. I believe they still have access to these crappy net throwing slave troopers, which you can just use in every age. Nothing really changes much. You just you get some cheap troops like these. I think they have the Lobo Guards too every time. You just get something like the Lobo Guards or these net throwers, and you fill out your you try to spend out your gold and your resources in a way that's efficient, so that you get like as many troops as possible, but you also use as much of your resources as possible, so that you're getting more bang for your buck, right? Generally, troops that cost more resources give you more bang for your buck for the same amount of gold, because they have more protection or better weapons, so they kill stuff more, or they don't die as easily. And then you want to have an awake expander to kind of like cover up for your weaknesses. So maybe if we had like Amber Clan or something, this expansion force might have just died if we had to expand into Amber Clan. Like, there's this Shark Knight and Triton Troopers. These guys are probably pretty dangerous. Amber Clan or Shark Tribe could have been pretty scary to expand into. Icarids, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but the sort of frog, not frogs, they're like, I don't know, weird bitey fish things. But the Icarid guys are quite dangerous as well. You don't want to expand into them with your Earth Serpent. I would dislike expanding into Amber Clan or Shark Tribe with just the Earth Serpent as well. You can probably do it. The Earth Serpent is pretty badass, but it's a little bit risky sometimes. So yeah, I think that covers everything. All right, I hope you have a good time with this video. Let me know if you have any questions or would like to see something else next.